right, welcome to another cosplay chat. We're here with Delvecchio Coleman, Miss Elizabeth Caddy, and joining us by auto is a Masters from Fayetteville winner. So she will introduce herself later. She may have some questions to throw in, but we're going to get this started. And the first thing we're going to do is, for those of you watching, before we get started with questions, we're going to take a look at this. When you go to the Fayetteville Comic-Con webpage and look, it's fayettevillecomiccon.com. If you're entering the cosplay contest or even just coming to the show in cosplay, please take the time before you get your costume completely finished, scroll down and see the cosplay guidelines. A lot of questions that we've heard here lately have been answered here on this page. It tells you how you should dress, gives you details on the different classes and what the judges are mainly looking for. The weapons and props policy, and you can even go down and pre-register for the competition. That being said, we're going to get ready to get started here. And I'm sorry, it looks like Delvecchio is having some technical difficulties, but we're going to go ahead on. Elizabeth, I think one of the first questions we're going to talk about is, okay, this question popped up on Discord. Tips for just cosplaying with long trains or long capes, walking around so that you're not being stepped on, not your dress or cape being ruined, or you being pulled to the ground, or some kind of accident like that. Do you have any tips for those situations?
Yes, and first I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Elizabeth Caddy. I'm a professional seamstress. I've had my own business for 12 years now. I've won awards for my work in movies. I've done theater, photo shoots. I have a ton of individual clients. And when I sit on the judging panel, I'm sort of the sewing expert. I know a little bit about everything, but when it comes to sewing, that's really where I'm going to be looking very closely and spotting every little thing that's happening. I've also run Cosplay Hospital at Comic-Cons going back 5 years, including GalaxyCon. I mean, all sorts of ones in North Carolina. So I've probably seen most of the people before. Hello. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again at Fayetteville. But to answer your question, I think, well, number one, most people, if you've got a costume like that, you probably also have a handler, which is a friend or loved one who you have convinced, guilted, blackmailed, whatever. Hey, I remember that thing I did for you. Well, I need a favor. Like, remember that time I helped you move? I need you to come with me and carry my stuff all day. So there's usually like a loved one that will help with that. Although I will say I do an Edna Mode cosplay, and I am into, like, you don't need a long cape. Capes are nothing but trouble. So I can deeply feel that as soon as you said that, I was like, well, they shouldn't be wearing that long cape. But I think, you know, getting it hemmed and self-hem can be hard, but, you know, maybe having a friend help you and like taking the time to do a nice hem so you can like move and walk around. And that was one of the tips given when I was on a cosplay chat last time, was not only put it on, walk around, get in and out of your car, do some stuff. Right. Like for a few minutes, so your body heat has a chance to like get all, you know, like so that will help. But honestly, part of that also is on the other attendees to kind of look out where you're walking. Like, we all kind of know that you can't just like bull in a china shop. Like, everybody's wearing something kind of breakable. So I think that builds in a layer of gentleness.
Makes sense.
All right. And another question that I was given: how are you judging how do the judges go for accuracy on a character that they may not be familiar with? When you're sitting at the judge table, the cosplayer is right in front of you. How are you going to judge something that you really aren't that familiar with?
So a couple of ways. Usually, RJ from the variant pairs us up with like our judging assignments, and he usually does a really good job of making sure that like at least two of the people on the jury or on the judging panel have some specific knowledge to that con. So not everybody has to, but there's usually at least one person. I judged at Anime Con recently, and someone in that group knew a lot of things. But usually they come in with a binder or a folder. The best ones are like a single sheet, usually with, I can see my count back. A single sheet with a good clear color image. Some people hand us their phones. I always feel bad taking people's phones. I'm clumsy. I feel like I'm gonna drop it. But just the ones that I participated in, we don't get much time with everybody. So they come in, there's somebody with a timer who goes boop boop the second you step in the door. And at 5 minutes we get a ding, and we have 10 minutes total. So we like to do 5 minutes of talking and then 5 minutes of tabulating, and we hand off our sheets, and then like the next person comes in. So like we don't necessarily have time to like go through a lengthy binder with like long paragraphs of information. Like if there's some really cool technique that you did, like show us a single, you know what I mean? Like try and be sort of like one sheets that we can sort of have an understanding of quickly, because and something else that when you're talking, most of the time they know what you did and what you didn't make and and that's fine, but especially in a craftsmanship, like historically we have smiled more upon people who are quick to say, I made this part, but I didn't do this. A friend did this for me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's not going to take anything away from you to be very straightforward about that. Right. Like, we want to, like, that is something that, just put that bug in your ear of like, just, be straightforward about that. And that'll probably be better.
So it's kind of like the integrity of the cosplayer is also being judged too, Yeah, because the judges can tell, like you said, if you bought this or if it was made by either yourself or someone else,
Yeah, yes. Like there's people who are, so-and-so, like, well, did you make this? Well, my friend made it. It's like, okay, that's fine. But for craftsmanship, sometimes there's like a minimum cutoff where like you have to have made 50%, 60%. So like those things start to tick away. Okay, now what percent did they make? And so, but part of that is knowing that and, being clear, you brought up the rules, that knowing before you walk in the door, these are the rules, and whether or not,
Yeah. Now we're going to get into a topic that is getting to be very big with Fayetteville Comic-Con specifically, and that is original characters. And Dale, do you want to handle this one, because you were speaking at length about this earlier?
Right, I got you. Well, in the Fayetteville Discord chat, we were speaking about OC characters and how OC characters are judged. The OC characters, being that they don't have a direct reference, or they may not have a direct reference, the accuracy portion of it is going to automatically be at a judged at a half system, or you automatically get certain points deducted off of it just because there is no way to compare it to anything. So how would a judge or how would a cosplayer gain points with having an original character? Do you guys automatically, like if it's a 50-point system and the difference between first place and second and third place is only 3 points, and if you have two OC characters, how would you judge like a scenario like that?
So in the room, historically, there's a sheet. You just fill out the sheet. Again, we don't have all the time in the world. Fill it out. Then I hand it off to somebody who puts it all into a spreadsheet. And then that information, like, we don't see it on the other side as whether it was an OC character or not. You know what I mean? Like, that's already predetermined by like the numbers that we put in when we saw it the first time.
Right.
So I think it's an 80 or 90 point system, but that's only 5 points that you lose or can't make up, or however they want to phrase it. But that's not that many.
Right.
So that's the kind of stuff where, what's your finishing like? Can I see hot glue streaks?
Right.
What's sewn together? What is falling apart? Like, what's your footwear? Like, that's another one that can push people upward. Like, is it appropriate? Does it look like, you know, like I would say that's a place for like free points. Like, if you were going to go through and harvest points, but
Right.
where's to look? Finishing is a good place to look, and zippers and closures is a good place to look. Like, if you
Right.
can have those areas buttoned up like impeccably, that's gonna just like really give you a little bit of a buffer point wise. I think, because those are the things that signal to me that someone maybe is rushing, or they're maybe cutting corners. That's the first thing I do is say, how are you in there? How's it closed? How's it sealed up?
Right.
Okay, and on that note, I'm going to use pictures of my own cosplay, and I'm going to show you 2 pictures of the same cosplay, where the only difference is my footwear. And since you just brought those up, you specifically, how would you rate the 2 costumes going into there? So we're going to go to the first one, which is here. This is the original. That is the wrong picture again.
And to tack on to what Terry just said, Elizabeth, what would be in the 2 pictures that he's going to show you, what would be the point difference between the first picture and the second picture, just so that everyone has an idea of how something so small like that can make a big difference in points? I didn't mean to cut you off, Terry.
No, you actually, you elaborated more, and I'm glad you did. That way I'm not misunderstood. But this is the first picture. This is last year at Comic-Con, and I know you can only see one boot there, but that is the main thing that I had that I've changed on this. But everything except for the blue skin suit and the skull itself is handmade, but everything is, and the mask, but everything has been altered by me in one way or another. But these clumsy boots, I hated them last year. I hated them.
Yeah, like what was the construction?
The construction of these was moldable foam over tennis shoes. And then I ended up just skipping over with painter's tape because it was the right color. And that's what it was. But I ended up having to tape over the entire toes when they were originally painted to match this because they kept breaking off.
Gotcha. And then so you could just slide your foot in every time, like you can slide your foot in, or is there like a zipper? Or
Yeah, it was just slide on.
Just wigglement. All right.
All right. And the second one would be this one. And again, I don't know how well you can see it, but this is a boot, painted, an ankle boot painted to match the costume. And the top is made out of basically painted knee pads for a motorcycle.
All right, my picture hasn't changed yet.
Yeah, mine hasn't even, Terry.
It hasn't changed.
Nope, that's it.
Let me see.
As an aside, did anyone go to Ichiban Con like back in this January?
No.
No, I wasn't. I was working on a costume for a movie coming out.
Okay.
Okay, let me know if
because
it
this is
comes up.
in
Now it should be
yeah,
up.
it's there now.
Yeah, it's up now. Potato, what were you saying though just now?
Oh, okay. So like this is like on theme with the whole OC thing. At least I'm assuming it was an OC. At Ichiban Con, I got second place in Masters, and the person who got first place in Masters, like I don't know all the anime, but I can at least recognize an anime character, though I might not know the show. But the person who won first place looked as if it was a completely OC character, and it looked amazing. Like I'm not gonna knock it. Like you didn't use an established character. How dare you win? Totally fine. Like credit where credit's due. So I mean, like it is. If that was an OC, because again, I didn't recognize it from anything, even if it was just like a Christmas holiday version of an established character. Again, didn't recognize it at all. OCs winning over actual character cosplays, it does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the fact that gaming is moving into the world of such customized characters for every single game.
Right.
The cosplay world, like it's gonna have to have a real kind of reckoning with that idea, because games are giving us so many cool options and things that people are just gonna want to make, but it's technically gonna be an OC. Like we have to find a space to kind of think about that, I think, as we go forward.
Right. Yeah, I think eventually they're either gonna I wouldn't say that they're gonna start a category for OC characters, but they'll probably at some point in time switch the rules around and say, hey, just like you said with the introduction of video games into cosplay and whatnot, there's gonna be so many different OC characters that it may be a con where everything is an OC. So
that'd be interesting. I'm looking on the Ichiban Con. I'm looking to see if I can see who that was, but I don't see. There's too much here.
I'll look through and see if I can find it. Like they never really did an official "here's the winners" post, because they ran out of time. It was a thing. Not to critique them, but they decided to combine the performance/skits contest with the craftsmanship contest. They didn't cap the time for the performances and skits. Ooh. And they only had 2 hours roughly for the window, and they started 30 minutes late because technical difficulties, which again happens. And then so basically the performance skit got all of their time, and they did 15 minutes for the craftsmanship, and it wasn't even here's Bato Potato dressed as blah blah blah. It was since the actual judging portion, and again the whole hey here's Bato Potato dressed up as blah 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 didn't happen. I had no idea what the character was, and again I couldn't recognize it, so it was just like it looks good. I like it, and again like credit where credit's due. She beat me, so I mean like there was something there.
You can't judge me, Elizabeth.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Keith Gibbs, the main.
Sorry, I'm changing the show floor around. Every year before this show, we end up getting like 12 new artists and vendors that come in last minute, and I have to try to do the jigsaw shuffle to keep our space open and keep those lines of sight that I really think are important to a good show. To be able to move people around and allow for that excitement to move across the room and make sure that people have a chance to get in front of artists and talk and not things. So as a lot of we moved our artist alley to the center of the room to really open that up and really promote that artist and creator conversation. So now I'm just kind of shuffling people around last minute to get final things taken care of. So when you hear that buzz, that's a new email coming in. There'll probably be 30 of them in this 15 minutes I'm on with you all.
Okay.
But I'm just going to give some quick awesome shouts. First, TJ, thank you so much for coming and helping out this weekend at the All American Tattoo Convention. hosted by the All American Tattoo. It's such a great show. Tremendous artists, not just tattoo artists, but just amazing graphic artists. One of our good friends, Nicholas Grimm, with Chop Shop Tattooing, is just an amazing artist. He's actually running our Fayetteville Comic-Con graphic artist studio collective, which we've now called CL Noir, which is sort of the first group that came into being after the last show, along with the Holy Order of the Knights of Cospladia, which our boy Del here is Cole here is the man really pushing that. So we're really looking to celebrate local talent, both in. Oh, what up, David Probus? I just saw you pop on a pop. I see your name.
Howdy, sir.
So we're really, really excited to celebrate cosplay. And people ask, why do I spell it with a big C and a big P? Because I want to promote that it's costuming and play, and that together really is more than wearing a costume, right? That it celebrates the role play, the character presentation. And I know, have you seen Elizabeth judge a lot of contests, and we really, it's awesome when a contestant is that character, whether it's an OC character or a mainstream character. But man, it's awesome when it's just that whole presentation. I know Cole here, man. You when you helped me at the playthrough this year with the Davy Jones, man, just it got the walk, got the attitude, got the motion. It just is so exciting to see how much creativity. I know, and I know I'm a little bit biased when I say that the Carolinas are the capital of cosplay in the U.S., but I'm real confident saying that because I've worked San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Cons, big shows, small shows, all around the country. And I'll tell you, nobody does it better than we do here in the Carolinas, and especially I'm trying to plant that flag in Fayetteville to be that center of cosplay. And now that we have the foundation of the Holy Land of Cospladia, I think that's going to be really, really exciting to see where this goes. Thank you, David, for everything you do. I'm not sure who the Bato Potato or the Bato Potato.
Second option.
There's a song about that, but hello.
Hey.
So
Delvecchio is a
thanks for this,
wizard.
and I'll answer any questions you have about the running of Fayetteville Comic-Con, but I'm just really excited to kind of listen and hear what's going on. So thank you for the invite, TJ.
Yes, sir. And,
So something I would say too, to respond a little bit about one of the really powerful things about being a judge, especially when my judge's choice is my favorite, because I can just point out and be like, but it's really powerful to look at another creative person and say, I get it. I get what you're doing and it's great. I completely see what you were going for, and I see your skill, and it's really powerful to see them have that recognition and to be able to give that to others is really special, I think.
Yeah.
And I'll also say that creative people accept creative criticism fairly well, right? Which is nice to see.
Absolutely.
I love working with creative people that are like, oh, I could have done this a little better. And then they go off and talk to somebody and say, well, how do I do that with foam? Or how should I do that stitch? Or should I incorporate leather? How do I keep myself cool when I'm in heavy layers? How do I keep large props to be both lightweight but strong? What's the word I'm looking for? Sturdy. Great.
That's why she's the judge.
Yep, that's why she's there. She has got the knowledge of the area. She knows what she's doing.
So very true. Terry, did you have those pictures, Skeletor?
Yes, I am bringing back up the second picture now. We were on this.
I really want to get Elizabeth's opinion on the two different
styles of the shoes and how they would be judged, because you Terry and I have talked about his costumes and in detail since the last Comic-Con, and I'm one of those people where I like to see creation. So with the original picture with the shoes that he made and the second picture with the shoes that he bought, Elizabeth, what type of things do you guys like? Would you judge? How would you judge those two opposing pictures just based on the shoes?
All right, looking up an image right now. Okay, so the image I'm seeing of him has purple boots. So are those purple? That would be my first.
They are ink blue.
Okay.
That because it's fresher paint, which I've had to go freshen up the paint from last year. They're still drying now. That's why they look a different color than the rest of the costume when this picture was taken. Basically, it's not really boot. There are boots there that come up to my ankle, and the rest is knee pads for a motorcycle painted and pulled down to imitate boots. But I don't have the cape on in this picture, but it would hide the fact that the back of my shins are in fact open.
Gotcha.
And when we go,
so it's a push-pull situation here, because the other ones, it seems like maybe you made more of them.
yes,
So that's something. And
Right.
I might encourage you to sort of work at the thing that you've made, or just literally buy a pair of boots that are going to be comfortable and supportive and fully covered and paint them perfectly. If that makes sense.
yes, it makes sense, and that's why we're doing this, so we can.
Yeah. But like if I was, I would say kind of maybe pick a lane. And in this picture and the other one, the hands and nails look really good.
Yeah.
That would be something I would notice, is that they look good. They look like they're on there pretty secure. The tights that you're wearing on the arms and the body are very opaque, which is also important. And usually those are a little more expensive.
Right.
I think it's $1 well spent, is getting some good, solid, opaque, either like leg tights or whatever you're wearing, to just go for that.
Okay, and I'm going to throw something else out here that I'm going to put myself out there. I, like a lot of other cosplayers, I do have a handicap. I do have a disability. I am a cancer survivor. So I have colon cancer. So I have an ostomy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for those of you who do not know what an ostomy is, on my stomach to the side is a bag. And I am pointing this out for the fact that when you have any kind of disability, we have to go a little bit further to work around. That's why I pick the costumes that I pick. Instead of going for a full spandex, I wear stuff, this belt. The reason I wear the championship size belt instead of a small one like you would see on a Skeletor toy is to cover that bag that I have to wear, the ostomy. So
You're speaking my language, Terry, because I have a big giant chair I'm sitting in that often plays into things. So I understand.
You are a great role model for those of us that are handicapped, however you want to put it, other abled. You're a great role model, because not only do you still, I'm going to be Luke Skywalker, but you don't just go for the Professor X or the other characters that would be in a wheelchair. You go and you work with what you've got, and you are outstanding at it, David Probus. Thank you. You are an inspiration to others.
Appreciate it, man.
I knew David was gonna tell that joke. Like I kid you not, Terry. When you said it, as soon as you said it, I said, I know David is finished to tell a joke. I can feel it coming. And David, you did not disappoint me. I do have a question for you, Elizabeth. Terry, I don't know if you were going to ask a question based on what you were saying. Were you about to ask Elizabeth something?
No, I just wanted to make that comment out there for anyone that is like I was apprehensive about how am I going to do cosplay with this out here for everyone to see. That's what I was just pointing out there.
Just gotta do it, bro.
In this case, the bigger belt I think works, and I would even encourage you to consider wider flaps that hang down. Those are, I mean, they look fine. I'm not, but I think you would be totally fine to get away with a couple of wider flaps versus as many thin ones.
Let me ask you something, Elizabeth. Now, if someone had a disability, would that be something that you as a judge, would you like to know that so that you can better accurately judge it? Because, as a judge, you may see, okay, well, this character is supposed to have, a symmetric, this side is supposed to be symmetrical to the other side, or the costume is supposed to be symmetrical. But if they have a disability and they make an adjustment, is that something that you as a judge would say, oh, okay, I see why you did that, and points will not be deducted because you had to have a quick release strap, or you had to have a piece of Velcro that you could easily access? As a judge, do you think that that would be something that would affect the judging of a costume?
I don't think it would be a negative thing. And most people are pretty open. I mean, historical people will come in. There's people who are artistic who come in, or maybe even have something in writing that says or even write down what they think they want to say because they have anxiety. You know what I mean? Part of, I can't speak for all judges, but part of what I love about it is that I just get to encourage people all day long. And we want them to come in and feel tell us, we're excited to hear what you've been up to and what you've been making. So you came up with a cool quick release strap. That's really cool. You know what I mean? We're interested and excited about that, and not so much okay, well, minus. Gotcha. That's, my opinion.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to throw this out there for anyone that is disabled, otherly abled. A lot of times, if it's something you can't see and it's not going to interfere with the costume, we normally won't tell you. I'm not going to go around and tell you this is stuck here. I know David doesn't have that option with his wheelchair because you see it, but for that kind of thing, if I'm dressed as Spider-Man, let's say, I can't have a smooth costume without having a fake chest or something. I would have to say, okay, this bulge here, this is why that's there.
So, and that's to your comfort level, though. That's when you're more comfortable in a situation where it's covered and you don't talk about it or explain it, then that's completely okay. And if you did have a bump there and you didn't explain it at all, that's okay too. Yeah. All of that's okay.
Right. Gotcha.
Now, I'm going to get into weapons and props. And for this, I am going to break out Mr. Coleman's own costume, a cosplay that is, oh my God, this one is endeared to my heart. Yes, sir.
Quick, can I say something just in that last little bit there? Because I want to kind of give my thought on it.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So for me, when I did my Luke Skywalker costume, you guys know, of course I don't have a picture, but I have the beard, and I was like, I need a costume that I can kind of fit the beard in. And so Luke Skywalker was the first thing that popped into my mind. Now, you can go big, elaborate, make the chair into an X-Wing, but for me, it was just I'm going to do something simple. Right. I have the Jedi robe. I have the hood over my head. I got a wig. Luke Skywalker. And for me, it was just, it is kind of functional in the fact that, you have to make things obviously where you can work around those if you need to. Like you said, a quick release thing or whatever. Right. But the thing for me is it's chiefly, you got to have fun with it. If you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying yourself, if you're miserable in your costume, then it's not going to be a good experience. Exactly. That Luke Skywalker costume is a little bit more cumbersome for me sitting down because of, long flowy robes that get hung up in tires and all kinds of things. The Sub-Zero costume that I did was much easier easier to deal with because it literally was like a pair of yoga lounge pants, you know, a baklava and kind of the head thing. I mean the leather thing over. But the thing is, with everything
David, I haven't
that
had
I
dessert yet, so balaclava.
balaclava, my bad.
Start going baklava. I'm like, ooh, yummy.
But so my thought process was just have fun with it, and the picture that I took with the Mortal Kombat guys at the October show, that was one of my best pictures that I've ever taken.
April
Hands down.
show.
Yeah,
that
April
was-
show.
Yeah, man, that's a great picture.
Yeah, for real.
And I'll just give a shout out to Thomasina Photography. Doesn't she do? I mean, Cole, the ones of you as
She kills
Khonshu,
it.
your Stargate Khonshu. So everybody who's coming to the show, if you just want a really good, crisp, clean photo of your cosplay that's very well lit, very just really just nice, make sure to stop by her booth.
Right. She's awesome. Like, she is awesome. Yeah, I've done like I think three photo shoots with her, and like amazing work. Amazing work.
Okay, and I don't know if she did this picture or not, but I'm gonna throw this in there. When it comes to props, I'm gonna give my man Dale all the hands up because of the stuff that he does. When you're coming in and you as a judge are seeing props that are added on pieces of the costume, whether it's the stab with the crescent moon or the little hieroglyphic banners hanging down from this costume. I mean, you as a judge, what do you think when a costume like this stands in front of you?
That's pretty great. What's the hem on that cape? How's that finished up there? It's
The hem on the cape, actually,
it's just loose, like raw, because the other stuff is raw too.
right, yeah.
Cool. And is that something that's attached to you, or is it attached to like the cowl headpiece thing?
So the cape is not attached to the actual shoulder harness. When I made that, I wanted to, as far as picture purposes, I wanted to be able to move the cape around the different positions so that it would be more photogenic, so I could do more with it, you know. And the fact that the loincloth piece, it also moved kind of freely, you know. I didn't want one part to look stiff and the other part looked like it, you know, it moved freely. So
Very cool.
thank
And are
you.
the hieroglyphs stamped out of it, like fully? You could see through that.
Yeah, I actually had some gold vinyl, and I printed out the hieroglyphs, and I work with a lot of foam, so I got a strip of foam, and I attached the hieroglyphs to the foam so it'd give it like a 3D look.
Yeah, that looks really great.
Thank you.
And this is another one where like the shoes really add a lot.
Right.
Like they're simple, but like they're the perfect thing because there's so much going on top, and that's so detailed. And these just like completely support the look you were going for without like being a distraction like this. That was a really excellent choice. And I like that they're not symmetrical.
Right.
I think that's a cool look.
Yeah, I didn't want to the headpiece was the initial focus of the costume, and everything else was just to pretty much support it, you know.
But it doesn't, but nothing else looks like an afterthought. You know what I mean? Like some people can end up with one piece that they put so much time and energy into that everything else just sort of looks like kind of tacked on. Like this is really cohesive, and I can tell that may have been the starting point idea-wise, but clearly effort, like a lot of effort went into all these pieces as well. How do you get the arm cuffs to stay up? That'll be up there.
Yeah. I measured my arm, and I noticed that when I flex my bicep a certain way, it would make my arm more narrow. So when I did the template, I made it so that when I, held my arm straight down, my muscles would relax so that the armband would slide all the way up. And when I bent my arm, it would, I guess, the pressure of it would make it sit into the right place,
Wow.
Yeah.
But there's not like any kind of adhesive or anything on there to make
No,
them
it's
stick.
not. No, it's nothing sticking to my arm. Like if I can reach up and slide it right off.
Wow, that's pretty neat. Yeah, the arm cuffs are such a tough
Yeah.
thing.
Now, Elizabeth, I'm going to throw some knowledge at you about this man's costume designs that if you don't know him, it's going to blow your mind. And that is his budget. Every
Oh,
time,
I heard about you, sir.
this is the $30 man. He sets a budget of $30 and he builds what you see on the screen.
Yep.
And the Skeletor costume that you saw, I've spent well over $100 on putting this thing together.
He's a wizard. He really is a wizard.
Thank you.
And I mean, I just wanted to point that out because when working on a budget and pulling out this kind of work, that is mad skills.
That is very cool. And so there's a tool that I believe is called a rasp, R-A-S-P, and it's like kind of looks like a nail brush that you would use to like clean your nails, but it's all the like teeth of the comb are metal, and that is the tool that you need to fray edges.
Yeah.
Edges, like that's the tool that makes it naturally unraveled.
Yeah, like a wire brush.
Yes, but like just so harsh. It almost look like nails. But that like, and you can see when you're doing it, the fabric, like you can kind of see where the weave is and kind of just, it works great when you're trying to like weather knees and things.
Yeah.
I work in horror a ton. So like weathering and wearing things is something we do a lot. And that tool is just like absolutely super, super useful.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to run through just showing you a couple more examples of this young man's work. I mean,
what's your
Say again?
What's your Instagram? I'll follow you right now.
Designed by Delvecchio, Diizine by Delvecchio.
Keith, have you seen this one yet?
I saw the picture. I have not seen it in person.
I can't wait to see it in person.
Oh yeah, the War Machine. Yeah, I'll be premiering that one at MomoCon in Atlanta next month. So
You built that in like a week, didn't you?
yeah, 9.5 days.
Wow.
What's the footwear on that one?
I made those boots out of craft foam, EVA foam. That whole costume, that cost about $28 and some change to make. Yeah, I used EVA foam, old bottle caps, salt shaker bottles, like whatever I had laying around. I scavenged for a lot of my supplies.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And I mean, what he's pulled off here, I love it. I mean, now as I'm going through these, I'm going to ask another question because you are a seamstress. Let's say
I am, sir.
hand sewing. If someone tells you that they are hand stitching their costume, what would you be looking for in the hand stitching to judge?
Good question.
So, first of all, I would say, why would you hand stitch that? Because it's like, unless you're talking about embroidery, which is a different thing, but like, you're always going to get cleaner, more consistent lines with the sewing machine. Unless you're a tailor and you literally just turned your hand into a sewing machine and they're perfectly even stitches every single time. Like it just, I sort of would be like, what would be the reason for that?
Okay, I'll throw my situation. I hand sew if I have to sew I either hand sew or I get the hem tape that you iron on to get the nice clean images.
Okay.
The reason being, I was raised by a seamstress. My mother spent 30 plus years working in a sewing room.
Wow.
And so,
Yeah.
and that plus being in the Army, I was the guy in the barracks that you got a hole in your uniform. We got formation in
Patch it
50
up.
minutes.
Yeah.
Please, here's $20. Sew this hole up for me. I was that guy. And so while my sewing is not perfect by any way, I do not look like a sewing machine, but I do through some hand stitching. And I've seen my mother put so many holes in her fingers with those sewing machines when she gets distracted. Yeah, I get distracted way too easy. I stay away from those things.
So let me ask you this, Elizabeth, and just to tack on to what Terry was saying. So if someone hand sewed or hand stitched certain aspects of their costume, and if you looked at it and you thought a machine did it, and they told you no, I sewed this, this was hand sewn. As far as awarding points, would they get extra points or extra credit because they quote unquote fooled the judge? Does that play into it?
Honestly, I'd probably be more critical of like, well, what could you have done with that time?
Right.
Let's say you have 100 hours to devote to this cosplay and you've burned up 20 of them on this thing that kind of doesn't really matter. I mean, it might matter to you personally and that's fine. But if I'm like literally just like comparing this is a finished thing to this is the image it's supposed to look like.
Right.
I mean, when it comes to sewing, it's like, I want to see clean hems, zippers properly installed with the eye at the top of the zipper. I want to see that you're using interfacing appropriately. Those are the ones that people who may not be as experienced or are cutting corners, like those are the first things that are going to go out the window. Not ironing properly is another one that jumps out really fast. And a lot of stuff, like even the flags people get, like if you just put that in the dryer for like 10 minutes with an ice cube, it's going to be like, it'll be perfect. All clothes, jeans, anything. Put it in the dryer for like 10 minutes with a couple of ice cubes and you're good to go. Okay,
so now this is my first time hearing this, and I'm from Macon, Georgia, so I'm like super country. What exactly does the just so that everyone and myself can understand better, what does that do to a piece of fabric with the dryer and the ice cubes?
So the dryer, you want to put it on high. So the dryer will melt your ice cube and turn it into steam, like pretty quick.
Oh, steam.
And then that, relaxes everything. The only kind of down about that is you can't just like forget about it, because then you'll just like basically seal in new different wrinkles once it cools. Sort of like curling your hair. It's like you heat it up in one way and then you get it out and then, you're good to go.
Well, I know absolutely nothing about the curling of the hair and things of that nature.
Okay, Keith, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Cole made it for me.
Okay, this is the costume that Dale made for Keith of Moon Knight before the show premiered. So
we knew it was coming.
Knew it was coming. And got the jump.
So that was like a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was at the me and Keith did like a dual thing based on the picture he had shown me. So he was Moon Knight and I was Stargate Khonshu. So my character was based on a Stargate look, but it was based on the actual moon god from Moon Knight.
Ah, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together before. I'm sorry.
And so what Cole did here is, just some really cool things. So I just procured a full white suit, and I'll send it in next one because, as you may have seen in episode 3 of Moon Knight has an alter ego which is called Mr. Knight. It's a very clean white suit with a white vest, white tie. I procured all that for the underpiece. But Cole made this for me. So the bracers and the shin guards are all foam, all held on with elastic, very light, easy to put on. I love that Cole took the design and the idea of taking that Stargate and bringing that Egyptian feel into this costume by making it more of that mummy strapping look. with the cowl and the batons. It was a lot of fun. I got so busy during the show, I only had a chance to get it on for a little while, but then Cole and I did the zombie walk a Fourth Friday with Cool Springs Downtown District, and man, that was awesome, wasn't it? That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
It looks terrific. And I mean, with the, I'm going to throw in that as a comic geek myself, I know that Moon Knight is spandex in the comics, but if you even look at the show, which these guys did not have privy to all the designs before when they made this, the concept of the mummy wrapping is a big thing in the Moon Knight costume on the show.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I looked at a couple of reference pictures, and that's where I got the idea to do the overlapping foam as the mummy wrap.
Yeah, that was great. Well, we are running out of time here, guys. We've got about 4 minutes. So
can I ask a real quick question about shoes?
Go ahead.
All right, so obviously being disabled and stuff, I have to be careful with my feet. And so shoes are often a difficult thing for me. Could you give any suggestions on how I could work around that as far as like being able to get good shoes and then make them work in any given costume or whatever?
With any question like that, I would sort of look at the puzzle backwards and say, what do I need these shoes to do for me? Do I need to be able to walk in them, or can they just ride along? Do they need to keep me warm? Do they need to keep me dry? So I would think those
the functionality of them.
Right. It's like, what am I asking of this thing that I'm about to build when it's going to be built? So I think those would be the first things, but our brain really wants to be tricked all the time, like just constantly. It really wants to cut corners everywhere it can visually. So if you can sort of lead the brain in the right direction, then like a lot of times the rest of those dominoes will fall.
Right.
And if you are saying, don't make an exception, judge me as if, then maybe you take a hit on the points and earn it up somewhere else, or say like, look, this is an issue that I had. This is a line that I couldn't cross. And I think any reasonable judge would.
Right. Boots are often a difficult thing because, being short and everything, sizing of boots and everything, it looks kind of goofy when you don't need boots up to your knees, and so yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm 4'12", so I fully recognize how proportion is everything with the.
So you're saying no. So you're saying no boots with the fur because the whole con would be looking at art.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've got one more. If we got time, Terry. We mentioned earlier about character portrayal. There was a guy at the last Comic-Con dressed like Gandalf, and I swear to you, the whole time he walked around speaking like Gandalf, acting like Gandalf. How important is that for a judge to see a person fully embody the character?
Ooh, that's 100% dealer's choice. Like that can be deeply annoying to some judges and very cool to others. Right. So like that is totally a personal taste thing, I would think. And then it's just, you're just going to roll the dice and either be like, a lot of people do like a pose or a move or some sort of like something. But if you're like coming, like like I say, it can be really, but I don't think people are going to be giving or taking away big.
Okay, gotcha.
But you should still if I'm getting what you're saying, learn to read the room.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're one of those that can go overboard with your character portrayal, look at your judges' faces as you're doing it. Maybe you're going to get some cues to tone it down, become yourself again. And
if your costume has a speaker associated with it, please turn it off while you're telling.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have for today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming out, Elizabeth.
Thank you,
Elizabeth, thank
Elizabeth.
you for the idea. Keith, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Keith.
I'm just
Dale,
sitting here working. It's cool.
Thank you, Keith.
Dale,
All right, and
once
then
again,
Had
an
it,
awesome-
make sure to follow
Cosplay Masterclass, Fayetteville Comic Con, $500 first place prize. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I followed everybody's social, so we should all be connected. And feel free
yeah.
to give me, message me. I'm excited to talk about Comic Cons and cosplay. Probably.